Okay, I had a video planned for you today. It's all recorded, it's uploaded, it's just not set public, giving my views, my responses to several questions I'd been asked with regard to feminism. It's a 40-minute video. It covers a range, a huge slew of subjects. Do you see any gender inequality? If so, do you see any responsibility to help end it? Do you feel feminism as a movement is helping? Fascinating questions, but I'm not going to release that video till tomorrow. I'm not going to set it public till tomorrow because I want to discuss, I've been asked to comment on this Thunderfoot laughing witch shitstorm, which is kind of back in the day. You may remember my back in the day, I mean a few months ago. There was a bit of a brouhaha involving Bewildered Ape and Thunderfoot, and involving a letter that he'd sent, Bewildered Ape had sent to Thunderfoot's employers, telling him, amongst other things, that he's a Nazi sympathiser. And that maybe his employers would like to know about this. Obviously not to sack him. None of that was with the intent of getting Thunderfoot the sack, because these things never are they? When you question people, are you trying to get this person sacked? Of course I'm not trying to get this person sacked. Quite what they are trying to do, I don't know, perhaps, get them a promotion, perhaps, get them a huge pay rise. What a load of shite. So that was the brouhaha back in the day. I thoroughly condemned that at the time. I thought it was a fucking despicable thing to do. I still do. That's why, but the reason that I condemn DMCAs, the reason that I condemn doxing, the reason that I condemn writing letters to employers, I said it at the time, I'm going to say it again now, is because it ratchets everything up a notch. You're taking things to another level. You're going thermonuclear. Right, and we all know how that mutually assured destruction vibe works, don't we? So if you do it, you can expect it back. But Bewildered Ape maintained his anonymity, so he can just stand behind his little monkey picture. His ape picture there, his chimp picture there. It's very disrespectful to call a chimp a monkey. I realise that. He stood behind his anonymity there. Laughing Witch, it turns out, did exactly the same thing, but she has... she's not stood behind her anonymity. She has been prepared to put her name to it, and she made a video in which she showed the letter, and you can read the letter on that, in which she puts her name there. Now, Thunderfoot, in his video criticising Laughing Witch, he shows a video in which he's highlighted some of the ways in which Nazi things, being opposed to feminism is a Nazi trait, etc., etc. These different, rather strange arguments, but it seems, if you look at the letter that Laughing Witch sent, that wasn't the letter that Laughing Witch sent, which I think is a little bit misleading there. Maybe somewhere, and I missed it, he did say, this isn't the one that Laughing Witch sent, this is a similar one. But that wasn't the one that Laughing Witch sent. But Laughing Witch has made her feelings known. She was part, in actual fact, of a letter-writing campaign. She was instrumental in organising a letter-writing campaign. Get as many people to write to Thunderfoot's employer as possible, because obviously that way we can make absolutely sure that he won't get the sack for what we're saying. Because obviously we're not trying to get him the sack. She says that as an employer she was doing it for the benefit of Thunderfoot's employers. Look, I don't want to deny anybody their lived experience, but at the same time I've got to say, what an absolute load of fucking shite. Right, I don't think she could really give a fuck. Why? How many employers, how many millions of employers there are in the world, right, that none of us have any interactions with. I can't really believe that she was so motivated. She had such care for Thunderfoot's employers. She thought, I can't possibly bear to think of them suffering with this employer who's casting them in a bad light. For their benefit, I must write to them. That's just bullshit. That she wrote to Thunderfoot's employer, I think, actually not to get him the sack. I think her primary aim was to shut him up. He is an anti-feminist and he says things that she doesn't like, and as far as she is concerned, the way to handle that is to shut people up. She says this in a video, and I'll link you the video and I'll encourage you to go and watch the video. Don't just take what I say for granted, please. Go and listen to what she has to say. She equates anti-feminism with denying African Americans their rights. Why? Because feminism is a movement, and she seems to have a big problem with that. But I just don't know where you go with that. Unless you have this kind of myopic view, well, I'm right about everything that I think, right? So it's okay for me to use tactics that aren't okay for anybody else to use. Unless that's the kind of your shtick, that's the kind of position that you start from. How does it work? How is politics even possible? After all, if you can't criticize socialism because it's a movement and because it claims to do good for society, right? If you can't criticize capitalism, if you can't be an anti-capitalist because capitalism is, amongst other things, is a movement, and capitalists claim that what they do is for the betterment of society. How can you even have any kind of political discussion at all? Hell, fuck, perhaps we should just be writing to everybody's employer. Every politician, we should be writing to their political party and saying, you do realise this person is espousing political views here. You know, they're criticising movements, for fuck's sake. I just don't buy that. I think that's absolutely ridiculous position to come from. But look, what I've been asked is what I think about how this has all gone. I said right from the word go that the big problem I have with this, other than that I don't really regard doxing, false DMCAing and contacting people's employers as ethical things to do, other than in very specific, very extreme circumstances, the big issue for me is the escalation. And that's what seems to have happened here, because Thunderf00t, and I don't condone this, I wish he hadn't done this, right? I condemn him for doing this, right? He published the details of the company that, Laughing Witch co-owns with her husband, and now a whole load of people have gone and left abusive comments on these sort of online review things, including making claims. Apparently, I've not read the claims, but I've been informed about it, the paedophiles and all kinds of things, abhorrent things, and I just think that is a shitty trick to do, especially if you're saying things that you don't hold to be true. I mean, do Bewildered Ape and Laughing Witch really think that Thunderf00t's a Nazi? I don't think they do. They're full of shit. And does anybody really think that Laughing Witch is a paedophile? No, they fucking don't, do they? So I hate this kind of thing, but this is where it leads. And I've got to say, right, there's two things where I struggle to have quite the same sympathy with Laughing Witch. Kevin Logan said, am I going to call Thunderf00t out in the same way as I've called Laughing Witch out? There's 2 points that I have where I find it hard to sympathise here. One is that she's escalated it to this level, so surely that's kind of... she's escalated it to that level and then said, if you have serious objections and you think somebody's done something seriously unethical online, then that legitimises writing to somebody's employer, employing these types of tactics. Well, if Thunderf00t thinks that what Laughing Witch has done is highly unethical, and I think it is, then that legitimises it in reverse, doesn't it? She said, yeah, that's fine. Make me a target if you think that what I'm doing is equally unethical. And so that's actually what has happened there. The second point that I have with it is that, and this is going to sound like victim blaming, right? And the reason it's going to sound like victim blaming is because it's victim blaming. Because, look, if I went up, let's say I shagged Mike Tyson's wife, okay? Consensually, mind, you know, let's get this clear. You've got to clear this up, right? I've asked her, Mike Tyson's wife, do you want to fuck me? And she said, yes, I want to fuck you, okay? And I've said, can I take your top off now? And she said, yes, you can take my top off. And she said, can I take your shoes off now? Etc., etc. And we've gone it and we've fucked like rabbits. And after we've finished, rather than keeping my little mouth shut, right, I've seen Mike Tyson down the road, and I've gone up and I've prodded him on the nose and I've gone, Mikey boy, you'll never guess what I've just been doing. I've just been fucking your missus. It was fucking brilliant. We were banging all around the house, Mike. Right, and he's gone and smashed me in the face. He's broken all my face open. Do I condone Mike Tyson going the violent route there? No, I don't. But wouldn't anybody say, Jim, what the fuck were you doing? Not shagging Mike Tyson's wife. Let's not worry so much about that. But why on earth did you then go up to Mike Tyson and reveal what you've just done especially in such a goading fashion? And it's the same thing with Laughing Witch. Forget about the fact that she sent the letter. But surely when she then makes the videos, the goading videos saying, yep, I sent the letter, I included my name on it, and do you know what? I think I was totally justified in doing so. What are you going to do about it? When you do that, right, what, talk about being an architect of your own misfortune. What would you expect to happen there? Right? Surely if you do something like that, you're almost fishing for a response, aren't you? Because if you're not fishing for a response, what the fuck do you actually expect? So that kind of tinges it a bit. And it's difficult for me to be quite as critical of Thunderf00t for doing it in retaliation. It's like if my neighbour smashes all my windows on my car with a baseball bat and I don't know who's done it, and then he appears over the fence and says, "Oi, mucker, I've just smashed all the windows on your car with a fucking baseball bat, wanker," right? If I then go and smash all his windows on his car with a baseball bat, sure, I should be criticised. That shouldn't be my response. I should have just gone soberly to the police and dealt with it. But nobody's really going to criticise me to the same degree that they're going to criticise him, because he's my neighbour that did it first, didn't it? He was the one that started it and then goaded me about it. So people are going to have a little bit more sympathy for me doing the thing in retaliation. Now, 2 points, that's the bulk of what I wanted to say. 2 points that I wanted to say. One, I've seen people say things like, well, Thunderf00t and people like that do exactly the same thing with Anita Sarkeesian, right? She does some work, I think it was for EA, they took on board with some project, and people go to EA and say, oh, don't have Anita Sarkeesian, she's bloody blah, 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 and then list these reasons why they don't want her involved. And then they say that's exactly the same thing as writing to somebody's employer. That's absolute bullshit. Because the things that people are bringing up there, and so long as it is the things that they're bringing up that are related to video games, then that is relevant to what she's doing with regard to video games. If you went to Anita Sarkeesian, if you went to EA or whatever she's involved in, right, some video games industry body, and said, I don't think you should have Anita Sarkeesian working with you because she made some really nasty remarks about Christopher Hitchens when he died, and I think those remarks are out of order. No, you're out of order then, because that is irrelevant to her work in the video games industry, right? But if it's video games related, if you don't like the direction she's trying to take video games in, then I think you're entirely legitimate in going to somebody she's involved with in that capacity. Same with Thunderf00t. If Thunderf00t was making videos on alchemy and saying, I truly believe that you can turn base metals into gold if you say the right incantations whilst they're bubbling away in a pot, right, or some other kind of heterodoxical position on chemistry, then I think we'd be right to have concerns. Or if we know that he was forging data for the experiments that he does in the lab, we would have a right to have concerns, the kind of concerns that would be relevant to take to his employer, because they'd be relevant to what he does for his employer. That is the difference between the kind of criticisms that have been made about people like Anita Sarkeesian and what they've done within the video games industry than just sending a letter to somebody's employer because you don't like what they say on YouTube. Okay, last point. This is a little bit of criticism of Thunderf00t here. He says again in his video, it's this thing about the free marketplace of ideas. He loves that, doesn't he? The free marketplace of ideas. You know, I've got to say, with the best will in the world, it's an absolute steaming pile of bullshit. If by free, look, is YouTube a free marketplace of ideas? Yes, it is. But that doesn't mean that the cream rises to the top in terms of ideas. Just as in the free marketplace of products, it doesn't mean that the best products rise to the top. Beats headphones by Dr. Dre are not the best headphones at each price point. In fact, they're nowhere near the best fucking headphones at the price point. They're badly made and they sound shite compared to the best that you can get at each price point. But they are an example of exemplary marketing. Everybody's been told how cool these fucking things are, and they've been adopted as a cool product, and they're the kind of headphones that people want to have draped round their neck. Look how cool I am. I've got my Beats by Dr. Dre headphones on. They sound shite, but I don't really know much about what good music sounds like anyway, right? So that's how it works in the commercial world. That's how the free marketplace works. The cream doesn't necessarily rise to the top. Neither does it rise to the top. I'm sorry I've got to say this, right? Neither does it on YouTube. And I say that from somebody who sat in Thunderf00t's position. What do I mean by that? I've responded to videos before from channels that have a much lower number of subscribers than I do, lower view counts than I do. Unlike Thunderf00t, and this is something I've criticised him for before and I'll criticise for again, which is that he tends not to. He'll quote a video, but he won't even tell you who's made the video sometimes. So if he does, he won't give you a link to the video, and he certainly won't go out of his way to encourage anybody to watch it. But I have done that. I've made videos, and then I've said, look, this is the person who's made the video. This is the specific video. Please, please, please don't take my account of what they've said, right? Go and watch the video. Please go and watch the video and make your own mind up. And then view that in conjunction with what I've said and arrive at your own position. And I've done that, and I've gone back a week later. I remember one case in particular. I went back a week later. My video at that point had 3,500 views. The video that I was responding to, I'd pleaded with people to go and watch the original, and the original had less than 1/10 of the views that I had. So even if every view that video had was a referral from my video, it still means that 90% of the people that watch my video were just happy to take my word for it, just to listen to one side of the story. How the fuck is that a free marketplace for ideas? Look at the exchange that Sargon of Akkad had with Zenistrad a few months back. Quite a kind of exchange that I applaud that. And those two protagonists, by the way, they clearly were watching each other's videos. And that was a proper exchange of ideas. I applaud them for that. But you look at how many views Sargon's videos had. People watching Sargon. I'm now responding to Zenistrad's last video. How many of them actually watched Zenistrad's last video? Well, look how many views the Zenistrad video would have had. Right? It would have had maybe 1,000 views, and then Sargon's would have had 50,000, 60,000 views. Right? It isn't it is a free marketplace of ideas perhaps, but advertising and marketing and all the bullshit that goes along with it, including people only listening to what they actually want to fucking hear, only wanting to listen to things that they agree with. It's all included in that. It's not about the cream rising to the top, and there's just no point trying to pretend that it is, because that isn't what it is about. So sum all of this lot up. You can call me Nostradamus if you wish. You can call me motherfucking Shipton for all I care. But I did say this is the kind of thing that will happen. You're playing with fire once you start DMCAing, once you start doxing, once you start contacting people's employers. You've took the lid off the can of worms, and I don't really know how you get the genie back in the bottle. A good bit of mixing of metaphors there. Just leave you with this one thing. If you were thinking of contacting or leaving a comment related to the business of Laughing Witch and her husband, they employ people. Those people aren't responsible for this. Laughing Witch's husband isn't responsible for this. Maybe, discretion needs to be the better part of valor on this. Just think, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to back away from this one. Okay, well, thanks for watching. What a fucking shitty mess we've got ourselves in on YouTube once again. Bye for now.